Everybody, John here, and I'm getting ready to go into the old Layens hive here just to see what they did as far as honey production, and I may try to harvest a few bars here. It's about August the 27th, and let's just see what happens here. The first couple here I had cut off the comb on the bottom where they was building a little wonky, and they haven't filled the frames all the way down yet, and it's not capped on the last 2 or 3 frames there. Same way with that one, not really capped yet. Another frame just full of nectar. But nothing I can harvest just yet. Only a third of that one is capped. And now I'm getting down into the brood. A lot of brood, looks good. It's amazing that on the brood, they do great on building the comb. And that's just in a top bar too. Usually you have no trouble with that. The wonky comb, of course, always comes down at the honey end. But this one looks good. Got a lot of brood to be hatched out there. They're starting to backfill this one with nectar. Got a little brood up at the top here. Got some little larvae, so the queen was here just a few days ago. One thing I really do like about the Layens here is I can be a little careful, less careful when it comes to manipulating the frames. Because they've attached it really pretty good. They didn't on this side, but here it's attached up it across the top into the dowel rod. Nice little frame. Also, what I like about the Layens so far is I've never had to worry about them attaching burr comb from the sides to the side of the box. That's kind of nice. I can just lift it out. Again, my only issue is if they put a little perpendicular comb on the bottom half of these frames in the honey section. And I'm still trying to work on that. If it wasn't for that, these are just pretty awesome boxes. You know, I don't see signs of a swarm, but I do know there's not near the number of bees in here as there were. So I'm assuming at some point in the last month or so they did maybe swarm. Another frame, pretty loaded with nectar. They just haven't capped it. So I think I'll put them back together here. I was really hoping to be able to harvest a little bit of honey, but I've got 4 bars here, 5 almost, that they're just filling up with nectar and haven't capped, and I've got a few down at this end too. So my hopes will be, I'll check it again in a few weeks into September here, and I may be able to harvest a couple of these last bars. They did have a little bit more wonky comb on this end, so if possible, I may be able to get 2 or 3 bars. Again, this is like a 17 framer, I think. It's 18 frames without the divider board. So 17 with the divider board in there. They've done a great job at filling it up. I love the way the Layens works. My only issue again was with some of that wonky comb, and I'm hoping to maybe solve some of those problems here, especially next year. I'll start off a little different when I put a swarm in there. I might have opened up too much at a time, and I should have just let them have a smaller space to build the comb completely down before I extended some more frames. I think that might have been a mistake I had, and that I just allowed them, because they filled it up quick. I wasn't able to finish talking out at the beehive. My iPad overheated from the sun and shut off on me, so I thought I'd do a quick recap here. 5 years ago, a neighbor down the road was talking to me about bees, and I wanted to get into it, and after listening to him, I decided to go with the top bar beehive. I did not want something that I'd have to lift heavy and move things off and on, and he told me that less distress on the bees, maybe with the top bar hive. So I started that, and this past year, my 5th year now, I built 2 Layens hives over the winter, and I'm just kind of going to tell you my feelings of both. The top bar, of course, is, I think, in my opinion, easier to build. I love the way they work and the way they fit together. You don't have to worry about frames on them. The only thing is, when you're putting them together, you know, you have to slowly, gently slide them together, and there's hardly any trouble with the bees or smashing bees with them. Love the way the comb works. If I want fresh comb, cut comb, I like the way I squeeze it out, works pretty good. Again, the only trouble with these occasionally, on the honey end, you can have some wonky comb, I call it. They may start to curve it a little bit. I even had combs built almost 2 inches wide, and I use 1.5 inch bars here on my top bars. So the bees just do some strange things down at the end of the hive. But I do love the top bar hive, the ease of it. It just works well. So with my new Layens hives, everything I've seen so far I enjoy. I haven't cut the honey crop out yet and used in my squeezer, but I think it's going to be pretty good too. I've got to wait a few weeks for that. The style of frames that I built, I always do things a little different. I did like the way the top bars stayed in the frames. The bars stayed in the box. I like how they just set on the edge of the sides walls. It seemed like a lot of videos I watched, people had a struggle trying to get these frames out of the Layens hive because it's recessed. So I ended up building my Layens hive with the sides here. So basically it just sets down on the 2x12 walls like this. You still have a 3/8 inch bee space here. So I liked how that worked. I did have a thought, you know, getting used to putting them in and out of the box was a little challenging. One of the viewers said, why don't you put a piece of metal strip across one end? And I did that on both the hives, and that works great. Whenever I set the frames in, I slide it down and I can use that guide and set right against it, and I never have any trouble with this way causing bee death. So that worked great. The starter strip I put on here, plastic, works good. They really build off of it good. I did have a few issues again with the comb. They did not sometimes want to attach comb to this, and I didn't coat it with wax. So I will do that in the future. These will all be coated with wax up and down the sides. But just for the heck of it, I thought I'd try a couple different styles. Another gentleman mentioned, why don't I put my dowel rod vertical? So I thought, well, that makes sense. So I ended up making a few like this. Didn't get them the chance to use it this year. Hopefully next spring they'll do a little bit better job with that building. I'm really hoping they attach well all the way down. It'll be interesting to see what they do on it. So I do like maybe that as another way. Again, I cut and crush and strain basically my honey, so I didn't want to mess with extractors or any other equipment than I really needed. The only thing I dislike about these frames is with the top bars, of course you don't have to worry about this. But I have noticed, and again I'm getting used to using this, this gives you a little bit more ways to squeeze bees. And I've had a few that would get squished in this area here. Again, you're so close to the hive sidewalls that the bees are always walking in and crawling in onto the comb here. So that has been an issue whenever I put a new frame in. You know, trying to get down and keep from pinching bees here is a little tough. But like I say, I need to work on that myself, just in doing that. It's so much easier with the top bar hive. So when you do get a bee in here and it gets crushed, it does form a little bit of a gap here, and it may tilt your bar just a hair. And the bees, for some strange reason, they love filling that in with propolis. So that doesn't keep your, if they keep doing that, it doesn't keep your bars even and flush. So I have a feeling that there's certain times as I go through my hive, I'll have to scrape this off just to make sure the, you know, the frame's set pretty good. And they don't do bad. It's just the fact that, you know, it does make a gap, and the bees love filling that in with propolis. And I don't know why they do that, because it's not the box, you know. But they do like filling a little crack, mostly on the insides. I don't think they do it much on the outside here. So anyway, besides that, I do think the Layens hive may produce a little bit more honey, still to be told here. But I have a feeling this will hold, usually my top bar frames hold a quart of honey, and that might be maybe 5 pounds or so, I'm guessing. I do believe this is going to hold a little more, so this may be almost 2 quarts. The Layens hive I built, again, holds 17 frames and a divider board. Would I build a bigger one? I don't know. Both my top bars and my Layens, I do believe, the top bars for sure, if you have an established hive, they're going to swarm. And I don't have a problem with that. I want them to swarm at least once a year. I don't want them to swarm 2 or 3 times. But it gets some bees out in the community that, of course, we need. If a chance I can catch them, that's great. I'll give them to somebody or use them in something if I need it. So that's not an issue. I like the brood break because that way, varroa mites, I do believe that helps a lot in that. I was asked by one of my viewers, he was thinking about quitting the Langstroth hives and going to maybe a top bar or a Layens. He asked me what I would recommend, and I basically told him this. I currently have 4 top bars in use of 3 different styles. I found the style I like the best. The last 2 are those styles. And I have 2 Layens. And if I built 2 more hives this winter, who knows, I will probably build 2 more Layens hives and have 4 of each. They're both great. I love the both of them in different ways. But if you want to not have to lift anything, except maybe 8 to 10 pounds here, and you just want all your equipment in one spot, not have to worry about trying to find your equipment or have to store it, top bar or Layens, either one is the way to go. Had very good luck, very good fortune with them, been blessed with them for the last few years. So either one would work. It's just whatever you want to do. Very promising. Also, I'd like to go to Dr. Leo's, one of his classes, just to see what he'll tell me that I need to know working them. So, as always, thanks for watching, and God bless.